Let's talk about why you may be starting the wrong offense in Dynasty College Football 25. Man, when you're deciding who's going to start in your lineup, who's going to get playing time, it is tough. It is tough, especially when you recruit different cycles. You got guys with different skill caps, different development traits, ratings, everything. It gets overwhelming. I think oftentimes we end up starting some of the wrong players, and it just holds our Dynasty back a little bit, whether it's getting players drafted or just not having your best lineup out there. On this video, we're going to cover all of that. If y'all enjoy the content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate y'all for watching. Go over to my Twitch. We're unbanned on PSN, so we're going to be streaming again. So I think the most basic thing to do is what offense do you want to run? What do you like to do on the offensive side of the ball? Do you like a quarterback that can scramble? Do you want an offense where you need a quarterback that's just going to throw the pill and he's going to throw it accurate every single time? You don't care nothing about his mobility? Well, guess what? You probably want a field general quarterback, and you need to address that while you're scouting. But let's just say you already identified what type offense you want to run, from your quarterback, wide receivers, running backs, all the way down to your O-line. Now it's deciding who you're going to put out there to be your starting guy. And here, you might just go with the highest overall player, but that's always not the best player for you, man. It's so many different things you got to look at, from the attributes, from the skill caps, from the development trait, elite development trait, 5-star quarterback right here. And he's probably our best quarterback option by far. Phenomenal skill caps. He's a 5-star elite development. We don't expect anything else. He also has 5 abilities. He's a scrambling quarterback, good speed on him. He is your ideal quarterback with Georgia, man. We're going to have 100 of these, ideal players at every position. But the main thing we also want to look at is press triangle on here, man. Y'all should notice at this point. Come over here to stats. And we just want to look at this. You don't have to do it for every position, but quarterback, I definitely recommend it. Come down here to traits, and you kind of just want to look at this screen right here. And this is bad. The sense of pressure, oblivious, is terrible. I heard some people say that this sense of pressure trait does not affect actual gameplay. Well, why would it be in the game if it don't affect gameplay? Especially something like tight spiral. How do that not affect gameplay, man? How do it not? And then also throwaway. Maybe that don't affect gameplay. Maybe that has to do when you sim and they get the throwaway trait. But oblivious sense of pressure, what that tells me is whenever there's any type of pressure in the pocket, their ball is more likely to be inaccurate. Oblivious, paranoid, those are 2 of the worst, in my opinion, to have for this sense of pressure. Y'all let me know down in the comments if y'all think this matter or if it don't. So it's you got this perfect quarterback here in your head. Elite development, 5-star, but this trait right here, I'm not gonna say it's a deal breaker, but something to keep in mind. If you wonder why he's not playing up to his attributes, it might be this right here, or maybe he don't have the tight spiral. His decision making being conservative, that I believe that more has to do with simulation. But if you're also doing the simulation league where you're simming games or playing the moments, if you have this conservative and you wonder why you're not getting big plays down the field, well, you might want a guy with aggressive. So, this stuff do matter in my opinion. I believe everything matters, man. So regardless, out of all our quarterbacks, I would still start, our guy right here. He's a 5-star elite development. Yes, he does have the oblivious sense of pressure, conservative, not great. But you look at our backup, Zach, and this is a guy I would move his position immediately, or I would just never start him. We know he can never be a great quarterback when it comes to throwing the ball. Accuracy is super expensive. That's always going to be like that for these scrambling quarterbacks, and it can only go up 2. So, his deep throw accuracy is going to max out, 78, 77, is already at a 75. So he's just never going to be a great passer. He could be great at some other things, like running the ball. Move him over to running back, move him to defense. You can do a couple different things here, man. And you look at some of these other guys, this guy, solid 5-star star development. We expect him to be solid. The accuracy is uncapped, but he's a scrambling quarterback. It cost them 9 attributes for him to upgrade that. That is expensive compared to a field general improviser. They're able to upgrade that accuracy faster because it's cheaper for those archetypes. So the scrambling archetype is, pound for pound, probably the most fun to use, but it's not always the best when it comes to just reaching their full potential and becoming the best overall quarterback. Kind of like you would expect in real life, man. If they're a scrambling quarterback, they usually lack the passing ability a little bit. At least that's a narrative a lot of guys like to paint. in the NFL, whatever, in college football, but we kind of see that here in the game as well, just because you can't be great at everything unless you're like Lamar Jackson here, man. Dell also another 5-star. We got plenty of 5-stars, but this is another one who, like, just all 5-stars do not come in equal, man. These skill caps are brutal sometimes for these quarterbacks, man. The accuracies can never be great. He can never be a great quarterback, man. As far as throwing ability, throw power could go up 1. That's also important. But it's another guy I would consider moving to another position. But he just don't have the speed to play another position. 83 on that speed. So this is just one of them guys, like, I would consider him like a bridge quarterback. If I had to play him, I would. But I know he's never going to be my long-term guy. I will always, look for a quarterback of the future just because I know he can never be great at actually throwing the ball. So when it comes to deciding who to start, like I said, just look at all these attributes, even the throw power, the accuracies, look at everything and really make an educated decision. You got to look at everything, skill caps, development trait, even the attributes, and make a decision. Like I said, I think it's obvious who we're starting here. The 5-star, like I said, he just had the bad trait. But other than that, I like to just have at least one of everything on my roster, man. So a scrambling quarterback, an improviser, a field general, I just like to have one of all on the roster because you never know when you're going to need them, who's going to be the best, we know who's going to develop the best more times than not. But it's just good to have one of everything on the roster. So next, let's move over here to running back, and similar. Who do you start? You can always go with the highest overall guy. But I don't suggest that, especially for running back. Running back is especially the position you really need to look at some of these guys' attributes, man, because sometimes the guy with the lower overall is the better player, especially when you get some of these power backs. Sometimes they are ready day one, man. They are their best day one when you get them on campus, especially some of these 4- and 5-star players. And here, both of our top guys are going to be power backs. In my opinion, power back is my favorite, but running back is a position group where, they're all pretty good. Power backs, receiving backs, elusive backs. I'll probably put the power back and receiving back as my top 2. Elusive back is close third, but those 2 are probably my favorite at this point. It changed throughout the year, but I love a trucking running back, man. Break tackle high, the stiff form. The spin move is lower, but it's not terrible, especially when they develop a little bit. That spin move at an 87, that juke move at an 87 for a power back. Like, he could do a little bit of everything except for catch the ball out the backfield well. He could do it, just not at a high level. The route running is there, 85 on the short route running. Like, he's a good player. Ted right here, let's press triangle on him. 5-star. Star development guy, pretty good skill caps on him, man. The only issue is to upgrade that power is expensive, man. Don't expect that trucking to ever get much better when you get these guys. Usually they upgrade other things when they're a power back, which is fine. The trucking is already in a pretty good spot, especially if you get the tactician boost. But 87 trucking, strength is good. All of that, we'll take that. Good carrying, love that about my power backs. You get some elusive backs, some receiving backs, carrying be trash. And especially year one, that's what I like about the power backs. They're always going to have good carrying, ball carrying vision. If you're usering, don't matter. Don't matter, man. If you're usering that rating, do not matter. Awareness also do not really matter if you're usering them, man. If you're playing, simulation, those stuff matter a lot more. Elusiveness, pretty much maxed out for him, man. He's a power back, but it's fine. That juke move is in a solid spot. Spin move, I don't use that too much, but 74, I'm not going to that, man. I'm either stiff forming, trucking, or juking. Route running, don't really care too much about route running, man, for my running backs. I'm be honest. I got a receiving back as my 3rd down back at all times, so I don't really care if my power back has good trucking, so you just gotta make them decisions. The speed could also go up, 92 on the speed. It could go up to probably like 94, man. Go up one more tick there, but it's expensive, costs 12. So in this situation, it's a clear decision to start Ted. I usually like to start my power back, especially if I have a solid one. I usually like to start them as my starting running back, and then I'll have a 3rd down back who is, my receiving back. In this case, we don't have a receiving back on the roster. I did not recruit this team, but it'd probably be Lorenzo. A guy with a little bit more speed. He's a little bit more shifty. His catching is probably not going to be that good because he is a freshman. But I usually like to get a receiving back as my 3rd down back. And I usually go play 2 running backs essentially, man. Have my starting running back and my 3rd down back, and they get a lot of carries. If you just put a guy in as your power back, Your power back don't play nearly as much as your third down back, man. It all depends on what formation you call. So that's kind of how you're able to get, both your running backs to play. So you just put one as third down and then you put one as your regular starter. And in my Temple series, we did that pretty much the last couple seasons with James Lewis and Brian Siss. James being our starting power back, Brian Siss being our third down back. Two phenomenal players. They both was in the 90s overalls, and they both would get 15 carries a game. It worked perfectly, man. Check out the Temple series if I haven't already. So we're going to skip the fullback position. Don't kill me in the comment section. We're going to hop right over here to receivers. And receivers is one of the position groups where it matters probably the most to check the skill caps, man. Running backs, it matters to check it, but nowhere near as quarterback and receivers. Receivers and tight ends probably matter the most. But receivers, like I said, probably number one, just because you'll get some guys with some terrible skill caps, especially if you're not recruiting gems at receiver. Here with Georgia, so most of our players are going to be gems, 4 and 5 stars. And you get some guys with some very good skill caps here, man. Bobby, great player for us, man. Great player. He's a 90 overall, true overall. You got some other guys, some young guys here. Even this, man, red shirt freshman, 84 overall, impact guy, but he's almost maxed out. He's probably going to max out. He's an 84, probably max out like 86, 87, 88, maybe somewhere in that ballpark. But here we have some pretty good receivers. If we just go over to Georgia Southern and we look at some of their receivers, he's a 78 overall, and he's completely maxed out, man. This does not happen with other position groups. O-linemen, we'll get to that in a second. This does not happen. O-linemen do not max out this early, especially you get a 3-star. He could be a bust. He's not maxing out at no 78 overall. He's going to max out like 84. So just know the max potential for every position group is slightly different, and tight end, but really wide receiver is probably like the most unforgiving. So just keep that in mind, man. When you're looking at who you're starting, like I said, I try not to start any guys with bad skill caps at receiver because I just feel like I'm not getting nothing out of them, man. You only have these guys on campus for 5 years at the most, 3 years at the least. So you need to maximize these guys. If a guy maxed out as an 80 overall, if he's my third best receiver, I'm more likely to play the 78 overall, the 76 overall. That's a lower overall, but he has the ability to get to 85 overall, if that makes sense. He has better skill caps. I'm more likely to play the young guy with better skill caps than the older guy with worse skill caps. That's just how I operate my dynasty. Just because I'm usually doing a rebuild, and part of that rebuild is, getting players to their full potential. So that's kind of how I operate. Feel free to not do that. Obviously, if I have a guy that's 90 overall and he's maxed out, I'm not going to play the younger guy over him. It's only when, it's like an 80 overall, 76 overall, when it's that lower overall, that's when I'm making that decision of who I'm going to start. And then when it comes to receivers, you got to look at these stats. We didn't mention much about abilities. Abilities matters as well. I think we touched on it a little bit with the quarterbacks, but abilities matter a lot. It's a big deal in this game, man. Like, extender, that's one of my favorite quarterback abilities, man. This guy got it on goal. So just make sure you're checking these abilities when you're deciding who's going to start, who has what ability on what level, what ability you prioritize, what ability you want. That takeoff ability for a wide receiver, I like that ability a lot, and thankfully our top guy do have it. But obviously the receiver stats that matter, speed, big deal, man. Speed is a big deal. Speed wins, speed kills in this game. You also got a guy with 80 strength, and he's a deep threat receiver with 98 speed. This guy just a specimen here, but also catching rating. But I would say catching traffic matters more. My receivers, they rarely drop the ball when they're open, but they rarely catch the ball when they get hit, if that makes sense to y'all, man. I play on Heisman difficulty, and I don't always have receivers with the best catching traffic. So in my opinion, this catching traffic ratings matter more. I'm sure the catching rating matters a little bit when it comes to catching traffic, but obviously it's a whole rating dedicated to, catching the ball when you get hit. So that rating I usually value a little bit more. So our deep threat receiver has the highest, which is an 87. Spectacular catch, I don't value all that much. I'm be honest, man. Jump balls do not hit for me. They don't. At least, contested catches, over top of people is one thing. They catch the ball and take a hit. I don't think that counts as the spectacular catch. I think that's the spectacular catch is when you throw the jump ball and they try to jump over someone, and catch the ball over another defender, and that rarely works for me on Heisman difficulty, so I don't value that. Short route running, don't really value that one as much. Deep and medium, yes, of course. Those are important, man. Release might be one of the most important things for an outside receiver. Release and speed. That's going to determine if they win off the line of scrimmage when they're getting pressed, and that's a way to get some easy touchdowns throughout the game. So that release rating also matters. Jumping is another rating I kind of tie in with the spectacular catch, so I don't value as much as maybe I should. Ball carrying vision, that's almost a running back ability, but it also, just determines how they're going to carry the ball when you're not using them, which could be useful if you're simulating, trucking, all of that, the juke move, the stiff form. That's important to know, especially if you're throwing a lot of screens, getting these receivers balls in open, or getting them the ball in open field, and you need to make a move. You need to know what some of these guys are good at. So this stuff matters, just nowhere near as important as some of these other ratings. And then also the kick return rating. I never really understood what this rating did, because you could pit any guy with 98 speed back there to return kicks, but the kick return rating, I'm guessing, is a combination of speed, juke move, ball carrying, vision, carrying. It's probably just a combination of all them stats to get that rating right there, but never really put any value into the kick return. Also, if y'all do get a receiver that's maxed out at like an 80 overall, 76 overall, feel free to move their position, man. I covered this in a couple videos. Go on my channel, you will find it. You can move these guys to the defensive side of the ball. They'll convert into like a 40 overall. But with off-season training, they will jump up and be usable on the defensive side of the ball, whether you want to move them to cornerback. But just, have a strategy when you're doing it. If you just move anyone, you might end up with a 5'11", 161-pound defensive end that do have solid attributes. He'll have good strength. The strength will develop. The block shedding. He'll be a good player, but he's 5'11", 160 pounds coming off your edge. So just be conscious. You might want to move this guy to slot corner. That might be where you move this guy if he was maxed out. But 100% you could do that, and it works almost like 8 out of 10 of the times, man. It's very reliable. So with the tight end, we found out how to make the vertical threat tight end useful. If y'all haven't seen that, I hate to keep plugging my videos, but it's actually like game changing, because these vertical threat tight ends are, I don't want to say useless, because they are useful. They just don't get drafted. They don't get high in overall unless you do the method. I understand if you don't want to do the method, because it is a little bit cheesy, man. And that's where you move into left tackle. I'm talking about that method. So if you don't want to do that, I totally get that. If you don't want to do it, I suggest you at least having a blocking tight end, a possession tight end on your roster. It's probably worth having one of everything, similar to wide receiver. Probably worth having one of everything, man. Deep threat, physical, route running is worth having a little bit of everything on your roster. Maybe having that route running receiver playing in your slot. Maybe like the deep threat in your slot, the physical, whatever. It's worth recruiting every single one of these guys at the receiver position, as long as they're gems, man, because they all could actually be useful and play a role on your team. But with the tight ends, same as that concept. Having a vertical threat tight end, he might be your starting tight end. He's not going to get high in overall, but his attributes are actually going to be good. Good catching, good speed for a tight end. The route running is good for, this is great route running for a tight end, man. 85 medium, 76 deep, release is trash, but this is actually very good stats for receiving tight end. In my opinion, he should just be able to get to a higher overall. Blocking is not going to be good. It's not going to be terrible, but certainly not going to be good. But the thing is about the blocking tight ends, as we all know, they get to the highest overall most consistently. You'll get some of these guys 95 overall, 90 overall, but they get there consistently. So it's important to have these on your roster to help with your pro potential and have players get drafted. Even if you don't start them, it's good to have them on the roster. I'm kind of the mindset you don't really need the possession tight end if you don't want. If you just want to go at the vertical threats and blocking tight ends, that would work. That would work, man. But the possession tight end is kind of like the best of both worlds. They get to a little bit of a higher overall, and they also still can catch the ball. Obviously, catch the ball better than these vertical threat tight ends, but you kind of sacrificing a little bit of route running speed, but you're also picking up a little bit of blocking ability usually. So it's kind of good, to have a little diversity on your tight end room, your wide receiver room, some things like that. Next, let's move to O-line, man, and tackles. We're going to pit left and right tackle both in one category. Obviously, it matters, their development trait, also their skill caps, but it does not matter nearly as much as tight end, wide receiver, man. You could get a bust old lineman, and he still will max out. Bust 3-star, he'll max out like 85 overall, 80 overall. These guys still will be good. It's just how it works in this game. But so I don't really go off like, okay, he's a bust, I'm not going to start him, or he's never going to see the field. If it's a receiver, it's like, okay, he's never going to see the field. But I don't do that with old linemen, man. It's a totally different ball game. I'm strictly looking at the stats. Also, height and weight, even though I don't think it matters. I like to assume it matters. I like to, pretend it matters because I want it to matter in this game. You get a 6'7", 332-pound left tackle. I want to imagine he's a monster out there, man. But in reality, it don't always play out that way. So for my tackles, what I look for is, strength. It's not the most important thing for tackles. For your inside, your interior offensive lineman, a lot more important. But I look for strength. I look for blocking ability, pass blocking ability, high pass block, high pass block finesse also, man. That one is a little bit more important than a pass block power, in my opinion, for your tackles. A little bit more important than the pass block power. Same thing, looking for good run blocking, good run block finesse also. I'm going to say the same thing. I believe the finesse is a little bit more important for the tackles, and then the power also plays a factor, but just not as important. So, this guy right here is an excellent old lineman, man. It's not one thing he's bad at. And, he's a 90, 89 overall, good lead blocking. This guy could play guard, center. He could play anywhere on the field on the old line, man. And he's just everything. Everything's good. Awareness is a little bit on the lower side. Don't love that. That means like he's going to be clueless at times is what it tells me. Even if they did have 99 awareness, they still be clueless. But I wish that was a little bit higher. But 88 strength, that plays. That's good enough for me, man. Once you get into like the 80, below 85 strength, that's where you get into the questionable category. And what I recommend is you're going after either pass protectors or power guys for your tackles. And then for your inside guys, I recommend for agile and also power guys. I don't recommend any pass protectors for your interior offensive linemen. If you want to do a pass protector for your left tackle, right tackle, makes sense. But just know they're going to have a little bit lower strength, but they're going to be able to block in the passing game, which matters a lot for your tackles because they're usually on that island. And here, man, we got a couple guys. Who would I start? 100%. I'm starting our top guy, man. Like, he's a dog. 6'7". Come on, man, 6'7", 332 pounds, does everything well. And you come in here and look at him. He's an impact 4-star, and he's not maxed out. Could get even stronger. Like, footwork could get a little bit better. Agility, like, everything is good about him. Speed is not amazing, but what is that speed? I was like 65. And speed matters a little bit for all your old linemen. It's not the say all be all. I like to have my interior old linemen a little bit faster than my tackles, but all of it plays a little bit of a factor. Change of direction, probably the one that don't really matter that much. Agility, acceleration plays a factor. All this stuff matters, but it's stuff that you really need to prioritize. Now let's move into the interior of the offensive lineman. So that's going to be your 2 guards and your center spot. And who should you start? I prioritize strength. Strength is like, I don't want to say the number 1 stat, but that's probably one of 2 stats I'm looking for the most when I'm looking at my interior offensive lineman, man. Because that strength stat determines how long they hold a block. And that matters, man. Awareness also a big deal, especially for your interior guys, because they usually do a lot of combo blocking. And combo blocking is essentially where, you have your center and your guard making a block, but it's a combo, so they're going to the second level, and that guard or that center is looking for the linebacker or, the safety, whoever the next guy to block. A double team is where they're just focused on making this one double team block on that tackle, on that D tackle or on that D end, whatever it is, they just focus on making that one block. The combo block is focused on getting to that second level. The combo block is important with the awareness because that makes them more aware of who they should block. At least it should. It's not always like that, but it should. So, we combo block the D tackle to the linebacker. Having higher awareness makes them be able to actually find that linebacker. And then also what's important is the lead blocking and the impact blocking, because the lead blocking and impact blocking has to do with how well they're going to block that linebacker when they get to him. Are they going to pancake him? Are they just going to, brush him off and the linebacker is going to go right through that block and make the tackle? So those ratings are a little bit more important in my opinion when it comes to, the interior of the offensive lineman. Speed, also awareness, agility, all those things matter as well, because they're usually, like I said, combo blocking, or sometimes it's coming through free, getting to that second level, so that speed of all that stuff has an impact on how fast they're going to get there. Then you get into the actual blocking stats. This is where the pass blocking I don't value as much, man. I want my interior guys to be better run blocking, because I like to mostly run up the middle, or at least, you know, that's the fastest way to make a tackle on us, man. Coming from up the middle. You hate to get a pressure from a D tackle, whether it's in the pass game or run game. So here we have, you know, run blocking good. I mean, from the run block rating to the run block power and the run block finesse, I value the run block power more than for the interior guys. My thought process is more interior defensive linemen are usually power rushers. More, you know, edge rushers are usually finesse. And when I say more, it's obviously going to be, you know, a mix. But when I say more, it's more. So you're going to deal with more of the power rushers in the interior. So I want my guys to be good with, you know, run block power, pass block power. If the pass block finesse is low, I'm going to move them to the inside. I'm more likely to move them to the inside of the O-line. If the pass block finesse is high and the pass block power is low, well, I'm more likely to move them to tackle. You know, height, weight also plays a factor, but in this game, like I said, I question if it matters sometime. So here we got a stud. He's a 94, 90, 91 overall guy, instant starter. You got a freshman here, a couple freshmen agile guys. I like the agile guys for the speed. They're going to come in with a little bit more speed. The strength is still there. The blocking ability is still solid. It got to develop. These are freshmen, but I like the agile and the power guys for inside. I am completely against any pass protector guys playing the inside, man. The strength. It's rare, but you do get some pass protectors with good strength and good pass or run blocking ability. If you do, okay, cool. Play them at, you know, if you want to play them at guard, cool. But sometimes they'll come in with 74 strength. You get some pass protectors, 3 stars, they literally coming in with strength in the 70s. That's bad for business, man. I can't do nothing with that. They get that animation where they get bulldozed over, and next thing you know, you're running back getting tackled 4 yards in the backfield. I can't do that. Now I'm my offensive line. So I don't touch any pass protector, guards, or centers unless I'm planning on moving them to tackle. Power, agile guys, like I said, it just depends. I'm good with both of them. As long as they have some strength and some run blocking ability, I could work with that, man. I could do that. And you see here, man, all our right tackles here are all pass protectors. We're Georgia, so we're recruiting some top guys. But you see here, even with the top guys, the strength at 83. 83, like I said, once you get below that 80, 85 rating, I feel like you get a little bit shaky. But he has the potential for it to get a lot better. He's only a freshman, but it's expensive for them to upgrade that power, as y'all see. Most expensive out of everything. It costs 7 of these skill points. Some of this other stuff is literally 1. For them to upgrade his run blocking, it costs 1. Pass blocking costs 3. So he's more likely to get better at some of this other stuff than to get stronger, which is realistic, man. It's harder for guys to get stronger. It's not as hard for guys to get better with skill. You know, it's hard to become a better athlete, you know, oftentimes. So, you know, just keep that in mind, you know, when you're deciding who you should start. And, you know, it's tough. But you really got to focus on these attributes. Like I said, I focus less on the skill caps, the development trait. Obviously, if you got a guy with elite development, I might be more inclined to start them. Better skill caps, more inclined to start them. But here, I'm really looking at them attributes, because I feel like for the old linemen, they damn near matter as much as the quarterback, man. If you have a quarterback with bad attributes, they play really bad. If you have an old lineman with bad attributes, they play really bad. You have a running back, wide receiver, tight end with bad attributes, they don't always play that bad, especially running backs. Wide receivers, you got a fast wide receiver, he could not be able to do anything else. You still can put up good numbers with him. Old lineman is not one of them position groups where you can have bad players or bad ratings, or, you know, just starting anyone. You really got to decide who you want to start and who you want to play, man. But if y'all do enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, man. Let me know if y'all want to see the defensive version of this video. If y'all do, let me know down below and we'll be sure to drop it. But other than that, we on to the next one.